If you could show Mozart a modern song to blow his mind, what song would you show him? Honestly, show him a Mozart song. The fact that he's still a household name almost 300 years later would probably blow his mind more than any one song from the future. Probably the instrumental progress would flip him out the most. The piano has grown in size and loudness since he was around, so I agree. One of his pieces on a modern piano or symphony would flip him out. A fifth of Beethoven. This is perfect on a few levels. It's not you, Amadeus, but still, check this out. Mozart was into his juvenile humor, so I'd go with Blink 182, Duck a Dog. Yeah, I think a lot of people replying don't realize he wasn't a highbrow type guy whatsoever, and was entirely self-aware at the absurd pretentiousness of the people who were into his music. He'd give 0 ducks, and would love a song like South Park's Kyle's Mom is a Bitch. Edit. For those wondering what people are referring to with Mozart being into poop jokes and a licking. And in regards to him being aware of how pretentious his audiences were, one of Mozart's own letters describes aristocrats in scatological terms. He identified the aristocrats present at a concert in Augsburg, 1777, as the Duchess Smackass, the Countess Pleasurepisser, the Princess Stinkmiss, and the 2 Princes Potbelly von Pigrick. Removed. I hope he was wrong, like in the good direction. Rock'n'Roll McDonald's by Wesley Willis. Saw him live in Buffalo. He pounded 6 inshores before he played. Ram Ranch. It's all fun and games until you have to tell him that Ram Ranch doesn't actually exist. Mozart vs Skrillex epic rap battle. He'd be so confused. Also show him some 12-tone Schoenberg stuff. He'd be like, pretty sure I didn't say any of that. Funny. I was just talking about this in another thread. I'd start by playing him some of the composers that came after him. Stravinsky, Copland, that kind of stuff. Then some film scores, like from Williams, Horner, Berry, etc. I'd love to see what he'd think of jazz and rock and roll too. If I could only pick one thing, it would be Rite of Spring by Stravinsky. I always wondered what Batch would think of Chopin. Sir Duke by Stevie Wonder. Probably. Classic bit of jazz mixed with pop and big band. Really just a short history of modern music. That is a great song. I'd probably also add the entire Songs in the Key of Life album, but Sir Duke for me is a standout of so many great songs. Falco, Rock Me Amadeus. Back in the 80s, a friend and I were listening to this song in the car. She asks me if he's actually singing hot potatoes. Hot potatoes. Oh hot potatoes. Come and rock me hot potatoes. I've never been able to unhear this for the past 3.5 decades. Are all of you people seriously gonna tell me that you're not gonna rickroll the dude? Come on, I'm disappointed. Never gonna give you up is the only right answer. Edit. U/real lyric has a lie. I doubt if he understood English. Does the video have German subtitles? Darude Sandstorm. Inhales. Da 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 da. Mozart was born and raised in Austria and spoke mostly German with French and Italian. 100% him playing him Rammstein. Probably the concert version of Mean Teal with all the explosions and theatrics. Then maybe some Gojira to show him what the French are up to. Possibly some Tulaf Hez Curious. Then some baby metal, because something tells me he'd get Japan in a weird way. Play him Deutschland, catch him up on some German history and a great song at the same time. I would play Aqua's Barbie Girl, just to watch him willingly return to his grave before the song finishes. Wow, I'll never be that good. Probably a Philip Glass or Stephen Reich work of minimalism. Mozart was avant-garde for his day. He would be blown away by the creative freedom and dexterity of technique in a composition by Glass or Reich. I thought Glass too. But I don't know if his mind would be blown, in that he thinks it's great, or blown away that something so minimalist could achieve commercial success. Ecstasy of Gold or Master of Puppets or Bangarang or something by Hans Zimmer. I'd really like to know what he thinks of a modern composer. Well, that's a range lol. Vitus the Seventh Element. BLBLBLBLBLBLBLBLBLBL. Megalovania. And then show him how many people have tried to make it sound bad. I would also love to see Mozart listen to Life on Mars by David Bowie, The Great Gig in the Sky by Pink Floyd, or Exit Music for a Film by Radiohead. He might be intrigued by Pyramid Song by Radiohead. Duel of Fates, Star Wars. It would probably remind him mostly of the oratorios of Handel, which he would be very familiar with, and the sound of which would be considered a bit old-fashioned. Nonetheless, John Williams' big orchestra would be very unfamiliar to Mozart, with several instruments that were not part of the standard orchestra in his time. He would be curious about the rich bass sound, and would find the arrangement generally very quirky and perhaps exciting. I think he would be turned off by the structural formlessness of Duel of the Fates, since his time was very big on structural cleverness. Money Machine by 100 Jecks. Hey you little puss baby, you think you're so ducking cool, huh? Giant Steps by John Coltrane. In terms of musical theory, it's basically the standard for complexity within jazz. This is a pretty good breakdown of why, but essentially the song changes keys so frequently and so quickly, while still remaining cohesive, that only true masters can keep up. In the video, they compare the song to trying to have a conversation with someone who changes their language every 3-ish seconds. You're trying to keep up as they communicate one cohesive thought, while switching between English, German, Korean, Russian, Spanish, etc. etc. I think Mozart would be intrigued by jazz anyway, but dissecting Giant Steps would hopefully prove a worthy challenge for one of the greatest musical minds in history. Giant Steps is definitely not the pinnacle of harmonic complexity. It only moves through 3 different keys, and always does so with either a VI progression, literally the most basic chord progression in Western harmony, or a second VI progression, which is the bread and butter of jazz harmony. Switching keys is hardly like switching languages for a trained musician. It was indeed a big breakthrough in jazz harmony at the time, and the tempo proved a challenge for the piano player on the record. He had literally been handed the music in the studio with no chance to prepare. However, nowadays Giant Steps is part of the standard jazz repertoire, and you certainly don't need to be a master to play it. Anyone who goes through an undergraduate level of training knows how to play the changes. There are plenty of jazz tunes that have been written in the intervening years that are more harmonically complex. Benny Golson's Stablemats comes to mind, as do many other Coltrane compositions that expanded on the harmonic concepts of Giant Steps, like Central Park West. And if we are talking music in general, by the time Coltrane recorded Giant Steps, people in the classical world had already moved well beyond tonal harmony, abandoning the strictures of chord progressions and tonal centers entirely. The works of people like Stravinsky, Hindemith, Schoenberg and others follow their own systems of harmonic logic that totally disregard the VI harmonic motion that Coltrane relied on to shift tonal centers. Now mind you, I prefer Coltrane's music to the work of those composers. But to say Giant Steps is the pinnacle of complexity just strikes me as inaccurate. Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen or Umbrella by Rihanna. While Bohemian Rhapsody would be my first choice, I think I'd have gone with Pink Floyd's The Wall as my second. The whole album, though, not just one track. Voodoo Child, Slight Return by Hendrix. Why is this so low? Everyone on here recommending more classical stuff that Mozart would probably nod his head to and say, wow, yeah you guys have some pretty interesting music in the future. Hendrix was blowing minds in the 60s with sounds people had never heard before. Mozart would have thought this music would have come from a different planet. A Day in the Life the Beatles. This was my first thought as well. Rap Him for Jesus. Well, I wrote this song for the Christian youth. La Villa Strangiato Russia 2112. I'm sad how far down the comment thread 2112 Overture is. Anything by Michael Jackson. Both artists were robbed of a childhood due to their father's milking of their musical talents, and thus grew up to act juvenile and immature, using music as the prime way to express themselves. My first though reading the prompt was Love Never Felt So Good by MJ and Justin Timberlake, but it was mostly because that single song covers like 70 years worth of genres. If he showed up today, would play NWA's Duck the Police. Gotta get him caught up on culture. But didn't this song come out 30 years ago? Yep, still relevant. play for him Let It Be by the Beatles. Mozart, The Ducking Pachelbel. Let It Be is one of the several songs referred to in the Pachelbel rant which doesn't actually use the progression at all. With that said, play him Britney Spears' Oops I Did It Again That Ducking Corelli. Dance of Eternity or Octavarium by Dream Theater. I'm glad someone said Dream Theater, it seemed obvious to me. I've been listening to Dance of Eternity pretty much daily for the past month now and it absolutely blows me away. Johnny B. Good. I don't know. I'd guess Mozart won't be ready for that yet, but his kids are gonna love it. Painkiller by Judas Priest, freaking gnarly song that blew my mind when I heard it, and I'm actually into metal. The entire concept of speed metal would be interesting to explain to him. It is pure energy. Peanut butter jelly time. May as well go Harlem Shake for the epic beat drop. Any Bobby Shmurda or Chief Keef song. Imagine a Mozart song starting with, if I catch another Methodica talking sweet about Mozart I'm ducking beating the A. Starless by King Crimson. I'm sure that song would be a trip and a half for him, especially the instrumental breakdown part. Also, Supper's Ready by Genesis and Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. Lark's Tongues and Aspic Part 1 would be 2 trips. Time to show him. #HATSU Annie Maku. Agu. Friday, Rebecca Black. Exactly my answer. No one said his mind had to be blown in a good way. Affix Twin, Mount St. Michel plus St. Michael's Mount. Can't believe this is the only RDJ comment. Just take him to any public place. In his time, musicians and composers were rare, and you hardly ever heard music. Nowadays you can listen to music playing in the background basically everywhere, and we even consider it weird to be sitting in silence at a place. He'd be used to a world where the majority doesn't have music, and yet pretty much anywhere you took him there'd always be some music track playing. I feel like the musical aspect won't be as much of a shock as like the clothes and electricity, and like cars and stuff Mozart has a lot of catching up to do. Master of Puppets. Autobahn Kraftwerk. Comfortably Numb, Pink Floyd. I think The Great Gig in the Sky would be better because it transcends language. A few options come to mind. 433 by John Cage, Giant Steps by John Coltrane, Threnody by Penderecki, Ghosts of Perdition by Opeth, Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. That'd keep him entertained. I think he would be really weirded out by Giant Steps. The harmony would clash with anything he ever heard, probably. I would be very interested to see Mozart's reaction to the Beatles' A Day in the Life, or in fact a lot of Beatles songs that have classical influences, such as Eleanor Rigby, Yesterday, Because, or even the entire Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album, Revolution 9. Anything by Billy Joel. You play the Piano Man for Piano Man, and let Mozart play Piano Man. Through the Fire and Flames edit. Thanks for the award, kind stranger. I think playing Ozzy Osbourne's Crazy Train and Trick Daddy's Let's Go samples the first song would show him how people still create totally new music out of samples or inspiration from others. Plus he hears 2 genres that are totally different. Crazy Frog, Axel F. Some possibilities. 1. Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, because he would know who Galilea and Figaro are. 2. When I Get You Alone by Robin Thicke, self-explanatory if you know the song. 3. I'm the Walrus by the Beatles for its rock and roll use of strings. 4. Only Shallow by My Bloody Valentine, cause that'll mess with his head. 5. Rock Me Amadeus by Falco, because he needs to hear that. I'd show him some of John Williams' movie scores. I'm pretty sure he'd really like them. Guxy Gang. Eiffel 65, I'm Blue. Imaric Roll Him. Tool, Literalist, Danny Carey and Adam Jones are about to blow Mozart's socks off. Anything by Infant Annihilator. What about Cannibal Corpse? Bangarang by Skrillex. Just imagine how confused he would be. A Killer's Last Stand, Led Zeppelin. I'd actually take him to a museum so he could see what his legacy became. I imagine it'd be a bit of a Van Gogh moment, granted not the same scale, but I think it'd be hard for him to imagine the kind of legacy he really would leave. I actually don't know. His personal letters show that he was exceedingly arrogant. He was well aware that he was one of the greatest composers of his time and exercised very little humility in his success. If he came back to life, he might be upset that he's not more famous for his works. I'm not sure how he'd feel about modern pop music. I'd probably ease him in gently with some of the more recent classical composers, as that would be more in his comfort zone. Then we'll start on the Gabba stuff. Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. Free Bird. It starts like a slow song and ends up being chaotic. I think he will get confused. Interstellar, the main theme by Hans Zimmer. Some grindcore. Through the Fire and the Flames. 7 by Tool. 17 minutes of progressive metal and even a section written in 21/16. I'm not musically educated at all, but I do understand that Tool's music is crazy sometimes. I'd probably pick Lateralus for a single composition. Goober. To freak him out. Paranoid Android, Radiohead, or really any Radiohead or Johnny Greenwood composition. Absolute geniuses. Rock Me Amadeus by Falco. Duh. Trough the Fire and Flames from Dragon Force. Pink Floyd's Echoes. Slayer, World Painted Blood, or Seasons in the Abyss. Duel of Fates or Battle of Heroes, maybe some stuff from Hans Zimmer. Strawberry Peel, 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 Strawberry Peels. Strawberry Peels Forever. Daft Punk. Rap God. Holy Wars by Megadeth, musical and lyrical masterpiece. Dave Mustaine, lead singer and guitarist, has such a snarly voice when he sings that you should read the lyrics as you listen. Yowto. Thunderstruck by AskTC. Years by Rush. Come on. It has to be Rock Me Amadeus. Oh my, you watched until the end? That's fucking awesome, dude. Thanks for watching.